The ability to turn off your brain and relax is not an easy task, yet it's important for your mental, emotional, and physical health. Joining me now is Dannie Lynch, a yoga instructor, stretch therapist, somatic coach, and owner of Centering Essence Wellness. Welcome, Dannie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You know, some African Americans feel a certain way about yoga, especially those churchy. I'm from the deep South, right? And in church. Can you explain what yoga is and what it isn't?
So I want to start with what yoga is not. Yoga is not a religion. There is no deity. There is no praying or anything to anyone. It's not a practice of faith. Yoga literally means to unite, the yoking, the integration. And the goal of it is to integrate your mind, your body, and your spirit through breath work, through physical practice, through what we call asanas, the poses, and through meditation. And so I think sometimes, because I'm a person of faith, I'm from the South, and I attend church. I'm a Christian. I attend church, and I believe in Jesus. But I think that sometimes when we're not familiar with something, we can tend to fear it. Or have a hesitancy or anxiousness about it. And so it is not any of those negative things. What it is a way to connect you with yourself.
You know, and you're also, in addition to a yoga instructor, you're also a somatic coach. Can you explain to us what exactly is a somatic coach?
So somatic coaching, similarly to yoga in the sense that we are utilizing the body, your nervous system, tools, breath work, to help someone connect with what's actually going on in their life and in their mind. So through a series of questions and prompts, as well as movement, right? I'll get to guide my clients into through a somatic coaching session in which they will identify maybe an issue that's been on their mind or a goal that they need to accomplish, and if there's some blocks there. Our body holds a lot of wisdom, and we don't often listen to our body. We don't often listen to what's going on with us, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and we just move from our mind, right? So through the somatic coaching, we're able to slow down the nervous system and really tap into, what do I want? What do I really need? What does my body say about this? And it could be something as simple as your heart beating fast when you think about something. It usually means anxiety. And a lot of times we just move past it, right? Because you got something to do, you got to go to work, you got to go here, you got to pick the kids up. But this is an opportunity for you to think about what's been on your mind and what comes up for you as we work through that. How do you feel? Do your shoulders relax? How's your breath feel? What's going on with you here? And so that's one of the beautiful things about the somatic coaching practice that I love.
Your breath, your voice is so soothing. Like you're talking, I'm like, I feel relaxed right now, and you talk about the body holding stress, right? How does trauma or chronic stress physically show up in the body, and how can somatic work help to release that?
So the body, and I'm going to tie it into somatic work as well as yoga and stretching, right? Just movement, type of mobility. So trauma will show up in our body sometimes in our shoulders. And sometimes you'll feel like if you carry stress in your shoulders, you'll have really tense shoulders, your upper back pain, right? And you don't know why. Sometimes when I'm teaching, I'll have students and I have to just constantly say, just relax your shoulders. And when I say relax your shoulders, their whole face will relax and you can see them breathe a little easier. A lot of people on this side of the world, we sit a lot for our work, or we sit in, whether it's a sedentary job or we're driving trucks or something like that, right? So we hold a lot of stress and tension in our hips. We also hold a lot of emotions in our hips, a lot of trauma. So sometimes when I'll do a hip opening workshop to help release those hip openers, to help release some of that tension, I will see people sometimes crying on their mat. You know what I mean? Because you're opening up a doorway just for some emotions to sort of free themselves. So trauma can show up different ways. Sometimes we hold it in our face and we don't even realize it, what is it? Resting bitch, whatever it is, like whatever. Yeah, thank you. I was like, what is the phrase I've heard you say, right? Nothing against it. Some of my closest friends have it proudly, right? And they're fine with it, nothing against it. But sometimes it is just stress, and it is underlying unhappiness that has you sort of gazing at the world, almost ready and tense for whatever may come next. What are you about to say to me? And you don't even realize it because you've been moving through life like that.
Right. And if you are one of those persons that says, hey, I know I carry stress, I know it is in my body. How important is stretching and relaxing? And what do you say to some of those people who say, I want to stretch and relax, but my body physically hurts. I can't do a hip opening if I wanted to. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, no. I love teaching beginners. I love teaching people who feel like they can't do certain things, because there's always something we can do. There's different levels of yoga. There's different levels of flexibility, we'll say. There's different movements we can start with. And then through time, especially when I'm doing my stretch therapy, I'm mobile a lot of times. So I'll take my table to people's houses and they'll lay on my table and they'll start off feeling like I can't do this, I can't do that. But after a couple sessions, they'll get to see I'm opening up in certain areas, right? My leg can go back a little further than it could before. I'm sleeping better because of these things. And so I would say, don't let fear stop you. Also, there are studies that show that our body, our cells listen to us when we speak. So mind the words that we use when we talk about ourselves. Mind your thoughts when you talk about yourself. And just say, you would like to be more flexible. I would like to no longer be in pain, right? I would like to live pain-free. But don't let it stop you from trying a different modality of peace and healing that might be helpful to you. Please don't let it stop you.
The power of the mind, right? Because it does translate. And for someone who's saying, I have in the past felt really overwhelmed and I want to make a new change. I want to reset my mind. What are some a simple 2-minute practice that they can start today if they don't have a yoga studio to go to?
So I want to start with just saying that the beautiful thing about yoga, and if it helps to take the name out of it because they're, just negative connotation, but the beautiful thing about the practice is it is the body, mind, and the spirit together, right? And it can be done anywhere. It can be done at work. It can be done in line at a store. You could be doing something as simple as a tree pose. And no one would even know. Angela Davis learned about yoga in prison. And one of the things she said she loved about it is the fact that the guards couldn't take it from her because they didn't know she was doing it. But it was so freeing for her. So I would say, maybe just starting with your breath. And I love the simple fact of just reminding people that our breath is our life source. So because the breath is yoga, the poses are like all a way of getting us connected to the breath, which is all a way of getting us connected to ourselves and our mind. So the poses are like that compared to the breath work and the meditation. So I would say start with your breath. Put your hands on your heart, maybe on your belly. If you want to close your eyes, if you feel safe, just take a big breath in and let it out. And just doing that a few times and just noticing how you feel, noticing if your shoulders soften, things like that, right? And then once you've got the breath, maybe start with some cat-cows. If you're in a chair, you can just round out the back, lift the chest, lift your chin, lift your shoulders. So there's a lot of different small moves you can start with that'll help increasing the flexibility of the spine, the shoulders, opening up the low back. Don't let what you see, the fancy things on social media and pictures and stuff fool you. All that's not necessarily yoga. It can be hard for some people to even sit Indian style because your hips are tight, right? And just being able to get to a point where you're able to do that, that's a really big deal. So just small progressions.
You mentioned we need to be doing these things, especially when we're stressed out, right? So for our audience viewers who have stressful jobs and they're sitting at a desk all day, because you're a lawyer by day, correct?
Yeah.
So when you're stressed out at work, how do you practice some of these techniques? And is this something that you just say, hey, at work is at work. When you come home, this is what you can do?
No. So I try to show up as myself everywhere I go. You can't show all of yourself, right? But I try to, this life is just easier, right? And so this is a part of me. I have people tease me sometimes because they'll say, you move so slow, right? Sometimes I'm intentionally slowing down because I'm rushing for what? Like, we're rushing for what? Like, if I'm running late, then okay, maybe, but like, why does everything have to move so quick? Why does everything have to be so loud? So sometimes just me setting that boundary is a way of me being able to practice my yoga. Again, it's not always about the physical movement. Sometimes I'll put my hands on my heart and I'll start my breathing and my breath work, especially after a stressful meeting or stressful exchange. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dannie, for reminding us that rest is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And you mentioned earlier that you have a mobile clinic or a mobile yoga. How do they find that? How can they get in touch with you if they're saying, hey, I do want to reclaim my life? And one way I want to reclaim it is by doing this somatic work and recapturing my sanity.
Yeah. So it's Dannie Lynn _yogi. It's an Instagram page.
Thank you. Dannie Lynn _yogi.
Yes, ma'am.
Be following you. Thank you so much.